Hi there, this is Dara here from Nurture, and in this video I'm going to talk you through the differences involved when creating a task using Nurture on Canvas compared to creating a task on Nurture on Microsoft Teams, because there are a couple of subtle differences in how Canvas works with Nurture, and I just want to go through them in this. So the first thing I want to call out is that Nurture works natively directly within Canvas assignments, okay? So what I mean by that is you could even use an old assignment or an existing one, or just create any normal Canvas assignment as normal, and you can add Nurture to it as the submission method, okay? So what I mean by that is, let's say I just want to create a Canvas assignment here for demo purposes, and I'm just going to add a question. Let's just imagine I've added a question here now. All of your regular Canvas settings work as normal. But if you wanted students to submit their work through Nurture and then create the feedback later on using Nurture in Canvas, you can do that even with any of your old Canvas assignments. So what I need to do is just select external tool as a submission type. And in this, we want to find our external tool. So you'll be given a URL. If you can't find the URL you need to use, just reach out to us. We'll figure it out for you. In this case, for me, it's this URL here. I'll just click find. I'll actually paste it here just to click select. And it is all set up there just fine. I think just pasting the URL is enough. Okay. You can do your submission attempts, your assign access as much as you need to. Now, the submission attempts piece doesn't really matter because they're submitting through Nurture. They will just get probably the one submission attempt in it, but your assign access will matter here. And once you're happy, you can just save and publish. Once you do publish, what you will see, and this is another task just for demonstration purposes, is here's the instructions that you might have typed into the box, your title obviously, but underneath that is Nurture. So this is where Nurture gets embedded for you as the teacher, and this is where you can access your student submissions on the task as they come in through Nurture, and that's how you essentially access Nurture. We'll cover all of that in a bit more depth in a later tutorial specifically around feedback, but this is just to show you how you can add Nurture to any existing Canvas task, okay? Next then, what if I actually wanted to use Nurture to generate the task for me? So within Canvas, you can do that as well. So once again, I'm in my assignments and I want to create a new Nurture assignment. So I'll just click on the three dots next to the assignments bar here, and I'll just click create Nurture assignment. Okay. Now, before I continue with this flow, what this is going to do is it's going to create the title, the questions, and the success criteria for you for the task. And it's going to basically create a draft Canvas task where all of that information is set in the description. And then on the Nurture side, we've set the success criteria, and it's just a draft. You still need to assign that to your students as normal in Canvas afterwards. Okay. So what we can do is we have a couple of different options there. We can either upload a worksheet, we could upload a past exam question, or we could start from scratch. Just a couple of things I want to point out about these couple of options here. If I upload a worksheet or a past exam question, what that's going to do is it's going to scan whatever I've uploaded. It's going to extract the questions verbatim from it, and we are essentially going to use those exact questions in the description, okay? And then what Nurture will do is add relevant success criteria to those questions, okay? So only use those options if you have like a worksheet or an exam question where you wanted to use those exact questions, okay? The one I'm actually going to use for this tutorial is to start from scratch. And just before I move on, this is where we can obviously do a lot more with our tasks. But just before I move on, one thing I want to highlight is if your teacher maybe created a task on Nurture before, they should be able to get a task code, okay? And they can share that code with you, or you could share with a colleague if you want to share one of your tasks. And by pasting that code in here and clicking the create task button, it will go through, it will create the draft version of that task. You can edit any of that with your AI, with the Nurture AI before assigning it to your students. but it's just a handy way for you to be able to share tasks amongst colleagues. Okay, so with this, I'm going to start from scratch. And from here, I have a couple of options. So first things first, I need to describe what the assessment is about. So for this demo, I'm just going to say World War II. If I have any supporting material or sources, I can upload them here. So this is slightly different from the last screen where you could upload a past exam question or a worksheet. Okay, this is where I could upload a source material. Let's say it might be a reading comprehension. It could be a worksheet. It could be whatever I want it to be, but I want to nurture to create questions based from it. I can upload that in here, and what that will do is we will actually create questions directly on it. If questions are already on whatever document you've uploaded, we may reuse some of those questions verbatim. But if you select more than whatever questions are on that worksheet or source, we will add to that amount in the output. Okay, I'll cover that in a bit more detail in another tutorial about which is going to be our tutorial on creating a task from scratch. The focus of this is more so on Canvas, so I'm not going to cover that right now. So what are these other options that I have to fill out? So number of questions, I'm just going to leave that at 5 for now. The style of questions, I'm going to say I want an essay style question and some short answer questions. For expected difficulty, that the default is set to expected level. So if I make this less challenging or most challenging, what this will factor in is basically what do we want to make this easier or harder than the curriculum should be. Okay, your student reading age is whatever you set it to in your classroom settings, but you can change that for specific use cases here. Let's say I have a task where I just want to maybe make the wording a little bit easier. You can bump that down a little bit. And then in your curriculum boundary, you can select whatever documents you feel are relevant to this task. So just select these two. Excuse me. And then in the final section, we have our AI effort. So in this case, it could be a faster response or a thinking response. Now, I don't find there to be too much of a difference between them in terms of time, and I find the quality a little bit better with the thinking response. So I'm just going to select that. And once I have everything added in, I'm just going to click Generate Task. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to generate those questions. It's going to generate the success criteria. And once generated, I'm going to be able to refine that further with AI. Okay. Once I'm happy with that, what I'll do is I should be able to save that, and it will create a brand new draft task in Canvas for me to use. So I'm just going to wait for it to finish generating. And once it has generated, we should get to a screen like this. So we've got our title, we've got our questions, and we have our success criteria. Those are the three main things in this. One thing I just skipped over actually at the top was the references that it used. So if I click on this, I can see what references it used from the curriculum documents I uploaded in order to shape the task. Now, if I'd uploaded a source document or attachment as well, it will also explain how it used it here too. Okay, but this is just information for you to have. But in the questions, we can see that we've got our essay style question, and we have a couple of short answer questions and a multiple choice question, fill in the gaps question as well. But then we have in our success criteria, we have 4 success criteria added. Then we have grading, and we have we can upload a marking scheme or upload a rubric. Okay, so from here, if I want to edit anything, I just click edit with AI above whatever section I want to edit. So this one will edit the questions, this one will edit the success criteria. So if I want to edit the questions, I'll click edit questions. Now I can type whatever I want in here, so whatever request I want, or I can just use any of these quick options. So like, for example, I want to simplify the language, or Nurture Assistant is going to edit those in the background. And once done there now, I'll just click save and close to see what it changed. So we can see here that it has updated the wording on these questions. Okay. Same for the success criteria. You can use our quick options or type whatever you want for finance there. Just make sure you're clicking save and close. That save and close button is just saving the whatever success criteria or task questions you have. Okay. For the grading, it's important how you set this up before you assign the task, just so that later on the nurture assistant for feedback doesn't create scoring breakdowns that are not how you expected. So we could obviously turn off grading. Let's say if it's an ungraded task, I'll just switch it off and we don't need to worry about it. But if it is graded, we'll just make sure you set whatever maximum marks would be available to the student. And we could leave it there if we want, but if we want to make it a little bit more accurate later, we would obviously want to marking scheme. So I'll click add a marking scheme. Now we have a couple of options here. I could upload an attachment of my marking scheme. If you do that, that's absolutely fine, but just make sure that the marking scheme you upload matches the questions that you set in the description here, okay? And also just make sure that it matches the maximum marks as well, okay? Now, if I don't have a marking scheme, that's absolutely fine. I could click generate with AI, and what that will do is it's going to look at the questions that you've set in here, okay? So even if I added an extra question myself in here manually, let's say I just added 2 or 3 more questions myself beyond what the assistant initially generated, the new marking scheme that it will generate will factor that in and create one based on it. Now, it's still generating in the background here, so even though it has typed a little bit, we haven't got the full marking scheme just yet. And once this turns into its active state, I can see that it is now generated. So if I just expand this, let's have a look at what we have here now. So for question 1, 10 marks, and it's given various marking criteria, including explanation and interaction. Question 2, 6 marks. Question 3, 10 marks. Question 4, 2 marks. And question 5, 22 marks. So that's obviously being the essay part of this exam. Really in-depth marking scheme, probably more depth than this marking scheme than necessary for something as straightforward as this, but our marking scheme is going to generate something that is ready for our assistant to use later on when actually grading the student's work, and it should be aligned to your curriculum as well. Okay. I could upload a rubric if I had one. For this one, it doesn't generate a rubric. I can just upload a rubric if I have one. For now, I'm just going to remove it. The due date, you can just set this to whatever you need it to here. Again, you can change that later on in Canvas. The final important thing I just want to call out is customizing the assistant for feedback. So what this will do is later on when you're creating your feedback, you can set it up now so that for all students, it creates feedback that's in line with whatever you set here. Okay. So once again, we could do the reading age. We can add any custom instructions we want for the feedback comments. So this will impact the student feedback comment later on. I can adjust default length of the comment. So by default, it's set to 120 to 150-ish words. I can increase or decrease that how I like. By default, the feedback language will be set to English. You can change that. And let's say if you're using a language subject and you had a student where English is the second language, you can ask it to generate it in their first language or generate it in English. And you could ask it to generate a second version of that comment in another language. So switching this on and selecting another language, it will create feedback in a second version of that language. Just turn that off for now. And your marking scheme is what we already generated. And same with the rubric. If I'd added a rubric here, it'll just show here. Basically, everything in this panel is what a context or assistant will get when creating feedback later on. Okay, I'll just update that context now. And once I'm happy with this, the final step I need to do is just create the assignment. And like I said earlier, this is going to just create a draft of that assignment in my Canvas environment. It's not yet assigned to students. So if I look at it here, we've got this World War II one. So what I need to do, it's obviously not assigned, is I need to just click into it. I can see that the questions are set up on Canvas. Nurture itself is just loading in the background here. I need to click Edit Assignment Settings. The external tool is already set. So when you actually create it from Nurture, we'll already set that external tool for you. So that's a handy way to find the URL you need to use on Nurture, is just create an assignment using Nurture and you'll be able to find the URL you need for the submission type. The due date has already been set by Nurture, but I could change it if I want. And I'll just click Save and Publish. And once I save and publish, that will go out to all of my students. And that is all you need to know about creating tasks for using Nurture on Canvas. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. But for now, all the other tutorials just about generally creating assignments in Nurture or creating tasks in Nurture will be relevant to you. This is just some of the specific things you need to know about it in Canvas.